girl, my name is Anel. Welcome to the Brave and Her podcast, where we inspire, empower, and motivate by sharing our stories of bravery. I strongly believe that by sharing our stories, we open ourselves to healing, but also serve to give hope and inspiration to those who are dealing with a tough situation. We will talk about all topics under the sun. Now let's hear your stories of bravery. Hey girl, thank you for being here for this episode. In this episode, I have the pleasure of having Nicole Palmer. She's a wife and a mom of 3 kiddos. She is the former owner of Nicole J Boutique, and she was the owner for 10 plus years. But currently, she is a podcast host of More Than Clothes podcast and a social media coach. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Like I mentioned to you, I've been following your journey for a few years now, and I'm so excited to finally meet you and have you on my podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate your support so much. I always love seeing your name pop up, especially when I was doing lives and stuff. And I know we've been trying to do this podcast interview for a little while, so I appreciate your patience with me, and I'm excited to finally have the chance to chat.
Yay! And today's chat's gonna be a little fun. I don't normally do this, and on the podcast, but this one's gonna be fun, and I hope everyone enjoys it. So let's just start by you sharing a little bit about yourself, just so we can get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So short and sweet version of my story, I guess we'll go with that. I am in Delaware. I live in Delaware. I graduated high school in 2008, and a month after graduating, I moved to New York City, where I studied fashion design. I was really just committed to learning all that I could, interning at any place that would take me, and really just expanding my knowledge in the fashion industry. After a few years, I quickly realized that I missed Delaware. I never thought I would say those words, but I did. I missed Delaware, and I decided to bring fashion back to my small town. So I started my business when I was 21 years old. At the time, I was designing clothes for women in my community, prom dresses, bridal gowns, bridesmaids gowns, and things like that. And during that year, I also found out that I was going to be a mom. So it was a surprise at 21 years old. That wasn't kind of the journey that I was ready to be on, but that's where I found myself. And it was a blessing, and it was exciting and terrifying all at the same time. So I had this point in my journey where I had to decide, okay, am I giving up on this dream of fashion, or am I pushing forward and going to continue to work hard and take all that I've already learned and keep this business going? So at that time, I just knew that I couldn't give up, because I could never look my daughter in the eyes one day and tell her to follow her dream if I had paused or gave up on mine. So that really became my why. And I knew that I'd have to figure out a different way to bring in income, because designing is a very customized experience. It takes a lot of time. It's a higher offer, higher service. So I had interned with a buying office in New York, where I learned a lot about market and open to buy plans and how to have a boutique and things like that. So I was like, all right, well, I feel like I could start a boutique. That sounds like something I could figure out. So on my daughter's first birthday, I launched my website, and we just kind of sat and waited for orders to come in, and they did, thankfully. I eventually opened up a store, a brick and mortar location. We had outgrown that space in a few years, expanded into another space. I had a warehouse at one point where we were housing our online inventory. Prior to the pandemic, I had a staff of over 12. The business was really booming, and it was exciting. And then pandemic hit and sort of rocked my world, as it did for everybody. And the interesting thing for me was I had built my social media presence and my website prior to this. So I was set up and okay with shutting down, because I made that pivot online pretty seamlessly. And so our business did really well during the pandemic. What was tricky for me was when we were able to open back up again. I had a really hard time with getting back to 7 days a week of the store being open, bringing staff on again. And what happened for me, I realized that this fast fashion world just didn't align with the slow and simple life that I had been craving. So
Yeah.
I decided to close the doors to the boutique early last year, which I know you saw all of that and kind of shocked the internet, shocked my community, my family, but I knew in my heart that I was just ready for more. And like the title of the podcast, I was just more than clothes. And I really wanted to give myself some time to figure out what else was out there for me.
Yeah. And I just have to say that I admire when you decided. That must have been a really, really hard decision to say, you know what, I'm not quitting, but like leaving behind what I know, what I've done for 10 plus years and starting something new, all to dedicate more time to your family.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because it was really a difficult decision. And ultimately what it came down to for me, because that thought of like are people going to think I'm giving up or that I failed or that something went wrong, right? And really it was the opposite. I was just giving myself permission to pivot and to try something new. But the what really was like the turning point in that decision was when I realized that I didn't owe anybody an explanation.
Right.
Like I knew in my heart that this was the right decision for me so I could prioritize being mom and being with my family. You know, we are a blended family and we have three very active kiddos right now and I just don't want to miss games. I don't want to miss practices and all of that. So I knew in my heart that my community understood me and the community and the tribe that I have around me, they know my heart. And I knew that I didn't need to explain that. And that felt really good. That was sort of like the turning point. And yeah, I don't need to explain this. It feels good. And the right people will understand where I'm coming from.
Right. And sorry, and that's really important to also point out that many of us think, because that's how I was, that, working and being independent, not that you're, still not, and not that I'm still not, but, having that job, that security, I guess, that, the thing that we've been there for so many years is, when it's not serving us anymore, sometimes we go longer
Yeah,
than what we should, just because, oh, what would, so and so think of me, or
absolutely.
to meet those society standards that are not, they don't serve any good to us.
Absolutely. And it's terrifying to walk away from something that you've built, something that you've been so comfortable in. And I realized that my name had been attached to fashion for so long that that's kind of what people expected of me. And I was in this place of like, no, I am so much more than this. There is more to my story. I don't know what that is yet, and I've spent this last year trying lots of different things, but I knew in my heart that I am just more than clothes and that it was time to sort of detach my name from the boutique that I built, but also know that it's forever going to be a part of my story. It's just okay, but now I'm giving myself the chance and the space to just see what else is out there.
Yeah. And your book doesn't end there. It's just a chapter, and you can keep writing a million other chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you said that because I am actually writing a book. I don't know if you saw that piece of my story. It's very much in progress. So it's interesting because there are so many lessons that I'm still learning that are becoming chapters in the book that even in just this last year.
Yeah. So what made you get into fashion, or styling women? I know, and when you had your boutique, you did a lot of styling. You had a group for women who you styled.
Yeah.
What made you get into that?
Yeah, so kind of goes back to middle school, I would say. So my grandmother, I have a very close family. My grandparents were just my world. We were very close. My grandmother especially. She was always sewing and very creative growing up, and she would make just things from curtains to pillowcases to like just all kinds of different things. So I showed a little bit of interest in sewing, so she started to teach me. And shortly after we started that, she became very ill and she had a ruptured brain aneurysm.
Mm.
Um, she was a miracle and survived for many years after that, but she lost a lot of her day to day, just like function. For a while, she lost a lot of memory. She had to relearn certain things. So the idea of her continuing to teach me to sew was like really not a thing anymore, but I knew I wanted to continue for her. So I actually took a sewing class at a local Joann Fabrics. And I made like a little bag. It was like a little beach bag.
Yeah.
And I took it back to her to show her. And she was just so excited, so happy that I continued to learn. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. I started making little things and taking them to her. I started then making my dresses for like homecoming in high school and all of my prom gowns in high school. And so it just really stemmed from there, from her starting to teach me and then me wanting to continue to learn when she no longer could. And it was just this mutual, I don't know, this mutual interest that we both had and really bonded over.
That is such an amazing story. And, I'm glad that you had the opportunity to learn and, watch her before she got sick. You got the opportunity to watch her create so many things and
Yeah,
feel
absolutely.
inspired by her.
Yeah, yeah, I miss her every day. We lost both of my grandparents in 2019, about 100 days apart from each other. My grandmother passed, and then we say my grandfather died of a broken heart. And but I still think of her often and feel her presence with me, of just like kind of guiding me to back to my creativity. Honestly, I feel like as I was building this business, you start to lose the reason why you started. And for me, it was very creative. I liked working with my hands and designing things and playing with fabrics and textures and colors. And as you're building a business and building a team and reaching sales goals, you lose that a little bit. And in
Right.
this journey, I can really feel her guidance of like, get back to what you love, of being creative and leaning into that.
And I see that you have an old sewing machine in the back. It's so cute.
And it's exactly why I have it there, because it reminds me of her sewing machine, which I have behind the computer. I have the sewing machine that she started to teach me on, literally looking at it right now.
Oh, that is so cool.
One
That's so,
of my prized possessions for sure.
yeah. Um, so like many of us, I include myself, that most of the time, like, okay, so for example, me, that I suffer from multiple chronic illness, and sometimes I don't put too much focus or too much attention in my appearance. And, most of the time, or not most of the time, I want to say, like, some of the time, I suffer from like mental health because of all the stuff that I go through. And that takes a toll on like my appearance, and I don't really pay attention to it. But then I feel like that also affects my mental health, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely.
Um, do you have any tips, for women who are going through something similar to me, or not necessarily a chronic illness, but maybe they're going through mental health um, phase where they just they don't feel and they don't feel like to dress up or anything
Yeah.
like that, and then, like, do you have any tips for?
Oh, absolutely. I love this question, and I don't think I've ever been asked in this way. But mental health is very important to me as well, and a lot of people don't know that I struggle with anxiety and depression. Therapy is a huge part of my world and something that I really try to spread awareness about on my social media pages and in my community. And with just our family, we've gone through some personal struggles that I keep private, but that it's really an important topic, and it's not something that we would think we could relate back to style and fashion. But the truth is, when you're feeling really low, you don't feel like getting dressed. You don't feel like putting makeup on or getting your, doing your hair or even getting out of bed some days, right?
Yeah.
When you're having a really low moment, which could be a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, a week, a month. I mean, I have been there and I understand that completely. And what happens for me is that I tend to go super comfy. And that's okay, right? Like my style overall is comfortable. Like comfy is key in my world, you know?
Yeah.
So, especially working from home, like I'm not getting all dolled up every day. I'm not wearing jeans and heels walking around the house. I'm going to be in leggings and slippers and putting on a cute shirt for a Zoom call, you know?
Yeah.
But on the days where you want to feel a bit more put together, it does give you a little boost of confidence or a little mood boost, I guess I would say. So my advice there would be when you're having those low moments, giving yourself grace, of course, and just staying comfy. If you have your favorite pair of sweatpants that are 10 years old and that's what you want to rock that day, stay in those sweatpants, wear the same t-shirt. But
Yeah.
if you're pulling yourself out of this funk, is what I call it. I actually just released a podcast episode all about pulling yourself out of a funk, specifically when you're having those low moments. But when you're pulling yourself out of that funk, one of the first things I do is like, all right, I'm going to get a shower. And I literally visualize all of the water just kind of running down my body into the drain. And just that's all the negativity that I'm releasing from myself. And I'm literally just doing like a cleanse shower, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I may not be drying my hair or putting on makeup, but I'm changing out of the clothes that I've been in, for the last day or two or whatever. I'm putting on fresh clothes that make me feel good. When it comes to style in general, I know there's a lot of trends and different things to keep up with, but I think figuring out what you feel good in is so important. And that doesn't have to be fancy if you don't want it to, or it could be. If you're somebody who likes to wear dresses and heels and doll up with makeup, let that be your thing, right? So I think it's important to figure out what makes you feel good and making sure that's what your closet is full of. And if there's items in your closet that you put on and that pile starts to happen where you're like not wearing that, not wearing that. Next thing you know, you have a mountain of clothes that don't fit, don't feel good. Take those clothes and donate them and start fresh or, revisit what you have in your closet and make sure that it's working for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those tips. I personally am the same way where if I'm in a, what you call it, a funk, I could wear the same t-shirt, same sweatpants for days, and then once like I take a shower, like it's amazing how just a simple shower does to your mental health. Like you just feel so much better
Yep.
automatically with just
Yep.
taking a shower and putting on fresh clothes.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and my next question is, what would you tell that woman who is listening, who doesn't put too much effort into her appearance? So we kind of already covered that a little bit, but what will you tell her? Like, why is it important to pay at least like a little bit of attention to our appearance?
Yeah, I think just kind of circling back to the question before this is just leaning into what feels good for you. So if you know that by putting on a little lipstick or curling your hair a bit makes you feel better, then maybe that's something to work into your routine, right? For me, because I'm creating content based off of, to post to my social media pages or for whatever I have going on, I allow myself to have one glam day a week because I don't like to wear makeup every day. I don't like to do my hair every day. I am comfortable more days than not by, leggings, sweatpants, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I give myself one glam day a week where I get a shower, I dry my hair, sometimes curl it. I will do a full face of makeup, put on a cute outfit, and just feel really good about myself. And that's when I have like the best video content coming through. And I will just batch a bunch of content on my glam day and just make sure that, I give myself at least one day a week where I'm doing that because it really does boost your confidence a bit, but I also think it's important to know that it depends on what you have going on in your life. If you are somebody who is going into an office every day or into a work setting, or if you're somebody who works from home like I do, then it just depends on your situation and all of that. But if you are somebody who needs to get dressed every day for a career or a job, again, I think it's important to have items in your closet that you absolutely love, that fit and feel good when you put them on, that are colors that look good on your skin tone and with your hair color, are pieces that you feel excited about. And that doesn't mean you have to have a high budget by any means.
Right.
A lot of ways you can add new pieces to your wardrobe at a low cost, but revisit what you have in there, maybe do like a good cleanse, a good purge, and get rid of that stuff that doesn't feel good.
I agree, which is something that I have to do because my closet is a mess right now. I have to get rid of a lot of stuff. So I asked this of all my guests. What is your favorite Bible verse, quote, poem, word, or song that helps you get through a hard day?
Right now, I would say I feel like it changes for me. There's not just like one ultimate. I think for me, it depends on like what season of life I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost see them as affirmations that I hold on to. And sometimes it's different daily, sometimes it's different weekly. Right now, for me, it's prioritize your happiness. And that is a very just that's like my personal mission right now, is just prioritizing my happiness and helping those around me understand that they can prioritize their happiness as well. As I mentioned, I'm a social media and business coach now, so I work one-on-one with clients. I also have like a group coaching offer and a bunch of different things, and it all comes back to how do we simplify our schedules enough to where we can make time for ourselves and truly prioritize what makes us happy and what brings us joy.
I like that. I love that. Those essentially those are like your words, right? That just get you through the day. Just a reminder of, prioritize your happiness.
Yep. And when I start to feel overwhelmed or when I feel like I have too much on my plate, that's exactly how I start to remove things or reprioritize my list. It's like, is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing me happiness? Is that the ultimate goal with this project? If yes, move forward. If no, it's okay to let it go.
I love that. I think I'm gonna adopt that too.
That is totally fine.
Um, so thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story and sharing those tips with us. Very helpful. But how can we find you? How can we follow your journey and
Yeah. So
support your businesses?
Instagram is my favorite place to hang out. I'm at more than Nicole J. My podcast, I post weekly episodes. It's a mixture of life advice, business, story sharing, interviews, marketing, all the things. That's More Than Clothes. And then my website is NicoleJ.com. There's links to all of the offers that I have, my group coaching program, my social media packages, business coaching packages. There's a free guide there as well, a free business guide, which includes my 5 proven steps to success. Maybe that's a link I can share with you for show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
And
good.
yeah.
Yeah, all that's going to be in the show notes. So go and check her out. Check out her Instagram, her website, and her podcast. Thank you so much, Nicole. Like I said, I'm so grateful that you're here and that I finally get to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much, all of your support, seriously. And this was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you ladies next time. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode inspired you. If you like this podcast, please share on social media and tag me on Instagram at The Brave in Her. I would love to hear your stories of bravery.